Good morning. If you want to see how we built this 20 by 12 deck underneath our east shed roof, stay tuned because that's what we're going to do today on Memphis Monday 240. Well, welcome to another Memphis Monday. Memphis Monday, what is it, 240? The 32nd week of our 5th year. Today we got another shop improvement project. We're going to build a ground level deck or floor or platform, whatever you want to call it, underneath our east shed roof over there. Building decks is a lot of doing the same thing over and over, so we'll keep this video short and sweet and just cover the salient points one time. Oh, Nutrisystems report, 200 today. Still look fat. But let's knock off that chit chat and get the deck building. I've already got my frame in place. There's a ledger board against the house that's connected with concrete anchors. There's a 4x4 down at that end. That's connected with 6-inch lag bolts. Then we have a second ledger board down at this end that's connected to the poles that hold up the shed roof. Luckily, the shed roof was square to the building. And then there's our end cap down there, which is also a 4x4. The key to putting your frame up and getting it level is to have a real long level. These things come in various sizes. Here's a medium size, and a normal spirit level I think is 36 inches, but this is 7 feet. And they make them even longer than this, but this makes sure you get a level platform. The next thing is our joists. We have, I'm using 4x4s because 2x6s are too thick and they would be down in the gravel. Another option is you can dig a pit underneath your deck so your joists will fit in there so that you have some space underneath them. But I didn't want to do that. I don't like that because that leaves a swimming pool underneath your deck to fill with water. I mean, your joist may be out of the water, but there's still water down there. So I'm using 4x4s, and I filled my underneath the deck with pea gravel. We have two different kinds of joists here. We got one joist that's attached to the outer ledger, and we have the second type of joist that is connected to the upright here for the shed roof. Let's do the shed roof joist first. The first thing I have to determine is exactly where I want the center line of this joist to be. So I'll just go down here and mark it. Okay, now I'll take that measurement from the inside of the other joist. Okay, it's 47 1/4. I take that 47 1/4, transfer it down here to the other end. Next step is to install the joist hangers. And what you do is you these are joist hangers for 4x4s. What you do is you take a remnant and put the joist hanger in it. Then you can align align your joist hanger. And put your screws in. You can use joist hanger nails, joist hanger screws, or just get some small deck screws. That's what I'm using. They didn't have any joist hanger screws when I went. These are 12-foot 4x4s, and honestly, they're not too heavy unless they're wet. The only problem is when you buy them, they're always wet. What we want to do is measure this joist hanger to size, or this 4x4 joist to size. So I'm going to put it in the joist hanger. And I'll take my handy triangle here. Measure the length I need. I'll tell you the truth, these new battery-powered tools are the best thing since plastic suspenders. Next thing is to put our joist in the joist hanger. Okay, all I'm going to do here is lift it into place and fire a couple of nails in it. Those nails we just put in were just to hold it in place while I put the 6-inch lag bolts through there to hold it to this frame. Talked about having 2 drills. I got 2 drivers here. One's got the drill for pre-drilling, and the other's got the driver head. That's a takeaway. It's just more efficient to have two drivers. I put washers on the ends of these because these bolt heads will sink in if you don't. When you use this wet wood, you got to put them in really tight, because this wood's going to expand maybe a 16th, or it's going to contract maybe a 1/16 of an inch. And here there's no magic. I just screw my screws into the joist hanger. these joists between the posts here, the ones in the center, instead of putting the ride bolts in from the side, I'm putting them into the end. Then after I get the joists in place, I'm putting these concrete pedestals in here. I don't have a lot of flex on these posts, but I don't want to take any chances either. And I'm kind of putting pre-tensioning them upward with some wedges. And I'll fill the gravel in behind it. And that'll eliminate any chance that these can flex at all. Well, that's all the processes for the joists. I'll go ahead and put the rest of the joists in, and we can put some decking down. Got all the frame pieces in, just like we talked about. I put those center pillars in there. Didn't use the wedges though. I think they would have loosened up anyway, so I just carefully fitted the pillars under the frames. I've already put in first couple of rows of planks here. Now I'm fitting this outer plank around the poles. Let's see how we do that. I've already trimmed my deck board here to the correct width, which is 5 1/4. And then I'm going to use this piece of 4x4 here as a template to cut out the notches. And no big deal. I'll just cut the notches out with the jigsaw. The reason I'm trimming these things down to 5 1/4 instead of 5 1/2 is because I don't want the deck boards to hang over my rim joists, because in the future I may want to put a wall up there and the deck boards would be in the way. Here you can see what I'm talking about. See how this siding comes right up to the edge here? Well, I had to cut off a 1/4 of an inch off this first board so that it was flush with the rim joist. So everything fit good. So let's start working on the other boards. Now what I've done for my deck boards is I just bought 16 footers. I bought extra because I plan on some other decks later. But then I'm piecing them together randomly on my deck. Let's go take a look at that. What I do is I just lay out a 16 footer and then cut it at points along the way here that are staggered and a couple of rows away from my last joint. And then I take the remnants, you can see laying here, and fit them in wherever there's the best fit. So one of the beauties of doing it this way, this random method, is that there's no waste because I simply use the remnants from every cut to fill in someplace. My brother gives me a hard time for doing this, but I cut these deck boards off with a jigsaw. Really ought to use a chop saw or a skill saw. Now using this, deck wood, it's always wet, which makes it harder to carry and work with, but it does have advantages because it's very flexible. For example, see this gap here? I can just push that in with my foot. These boards are very, very pliable. And here I'm taking up even a bigger gap by using a clamp, and that'll hold the boards together. You want to have as little space as possible in here because these boards are going to shrink anyway. So getting them close together is really important. Well, I was showing you the random way to stagger the boards. The random method is primarily used for hardwood floors indoors. This is the way it's often done for decks. You stagger each individual board, so you got staggered all the way down at that end. Now, when you make those staggers, you got remnants on each one of those boards. So now you can take those remnants and just complete each row. Just like this. So here you can see I fit all those remnants in their proper places with zero waste. The only waste will be, and I don't know if they even call that waste, will be when I trim the far edge down there. I'll be snapping a line and then cutting that. Okay, this is kind of like the final exam here. Because if this last board doesn't fit, that means that the deck's not square, the building's not square, you made some kind of mistake. Well, it looks like we passed our, I haven't nailed that down yet, but it looks like we passed our final exam. Check out that final board. There's not an eighth of an inch off the whole way. Now, if I wasn't doing a video, I'd probably just cut that off with a jigsaw. But you guys probably give me a hard time. Well, here's our deck for Memphis Monday 240. It's 20 by 12 approximately. I think the takeaway is that, you know, putting the deck boards on, that's the fun and easy part. The real job is building the frame. Well, that'll do it for another Memphis Monday 240. 240 straight weeks. What do you think? Today we built a deck 20 by 12. Showed you a couple of different ways to stagger the boards. You can either do it randomly, showed you that first, or you can stagger them in a systematic way. They both work. Probably staggering them is a little bit easier. You don't have to think as much. But what this episode was really about was building that framework for the deck. Putting the boards on, when we think about decks, so we think about, you know, nailing down the planks for the deck. Well, really, the thing you need to concentrate on is building the framework. Whether you use a platform deck, a regular deck with pedestals, or you use sleepers, or whatever you use, it has to be square, it has to be stable, you know, it has to be on a good foundation. But I can't think of anything else. Oh yeah, I just thought of something. Make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.